Welcome to Lagos, a city where everyone is hustling to cut a good deal, and what might seem chaotic to many actually has order and structure. With that comes plenty of opportunity, at least for those who are able to navigate the local networks, be creative, and connect with the customers. Customers that can come from many different walks of life. To build, grow, or restructure businesses, in our markets, you need to go through transformation to make companies with high potential into successful companies over the long term. Look, it's quite simple. To build an efficient engine, even a high-performing engine, you have to ensure all parts are robust and working in tandem. And this is where optimization, technology, and automation are catalysts to building efficient and scalable businesses. Come with us on a journey from Lagos to London and back, a journey of transformation, repositioning a bank, improved turnaround times in our fuel truck yard, and pioneering the manufacturing of bouillons and tomato paste in Nigeria.
Crown Agents Bank was an unlikely target for African private equity. It's a 180-year-old organization. It had not really been growing for the last 20 years or so. Things were very manual, and there were real opportunities for us to improve processes and to improve efficiencies in the business.
One of the most important elements in our investment in Crown Agents for it to be successful is achieving scale and having an internal engine that can scale in a very capital-light fashion.
Our vision was to create the leading wholesale bank to bridge between developed markets and frontier markets, particularly focusing on FX and payments. You have the opportunity to massively scale the bank without deploying a lot of extra capital.
What we're doing is transforming an organization that traditionally operated in a very manual fashion, automating that process, automating the FX conversion, automating the payment flows. We can serve new fintech payment companies, fintech remittance companies, and more traditional, called Western banks, who have clients who wish to send money into a wide range of developing nations, and we can become the consolidator of those, as long as we do it super efficiently.
We are partway along a journey. There's still more to be done. But before you can automate processes, you have to make sure that you're not automating a bad process. So we always say that process trumps technology. So first of all, we need to map what is the process. Then are there steps in it which are unnecessary, which leads to delays? How can we improve the process before we automate it?
We've been able to draw on support, black belt support for Lean Six Sigma, building much more efficient operational processes has been a key part of our growth. We've dramatically reduced the timeframes through being able to draw on support from the in-house operations team at Helios.
The mission of the ops team is to really be a resource to management. And that means both in terms of providing manpower, but also providing guidance and a range of expertise from what we have learned in other portfolio companies or through our relationship with other experts.
Helios have been there with sound advice, sound insight, introductions, and they really understand some of the complexity of working in some of the markets.
Another differentiator here is that the operating team has real-life, pragmatic on-the-ground experience in our markets.
One of the most important steps we've taken this year is to acquire a US fintech called Segovia. They built a highly scalable payment gateway product that allowed last-mile delivery of payments, but particularly to mobile wallets, new and emerging payment systems across Africa.
When I think about what the tech that we're building is good for, it's efficiency and automation of process, and it's scalability and the ability to do things that you couldn't have done manually. And as I look at the Crown Agents context, I think both of those are central to the growth of Crown Agents over the next few years. Where can we automate and think about efficiency? And how do we scale the platform? As more and more customers come on, as we expand to new countries, we're going to be processing more transactions, and we're going to need the technology to do that. That's where I think Segovia helps.
We've come a long way on the Crown Agents journey. If you look at the bank today, it's almost unrecognizable from what it was 3 years ago. It's now profitable, it's growing very fast, it's grown at over 50% a year the last 2 years in a row, and we expect that to continue. And in particular, there's been huge growth in payments and FX. So to give you a couple of illustrations, the straight-through processing has gone from 20% to 87%, and the proportion of the revenues coming from FX and payments has gone from 38% to 66%.
One reason we've been able to grow so rapidly is by rebuilding relationships, by demonstrating the value. We were adding value by improving financial inclusion, by reducing the cost of inbound money, by helping some of the commercial banks that had been de-risked, helping them re-access international markets for dollar payments. A number of different things that we've done have helped us re-establish a position of trust that really had been there beforehand, and that is a barrier to entry for competition.
Some of our customers have been asking us, can you move into new geographical territories? And so gradually we're covering more and more of the frontier and difficult to reach markets.
At Save the Children International, we deliver programs to over 100 countries, and we need 60 odd currencies for that. Crown Agent banks provide foreign exchange for Save the Children. And only like 2 years ago, they started going to different markets. They started quoting different currencies. Crown Agent banks can provide competitive price, and also they can settle in timely manner. They're just very trustworthy. So if I deal with them, I know that the currency will be delivered. They're really trying hard to improve the services for Save the Children.
Everything we can do now quicker, more efficiently, less likely to have manual processes that can break. But we still have huge opportunities going forward. And particularly as we build scale, we can bring our costs down. As we bring our costs down, we get more scale. And so I'm very confident that we have a long-term sustainable business being the preferred provider of payments in and selectively helping local institutions access international markets.
Nigeria is a big economy with a huge population, 200 million. And in that population space, there's key sectors that continue to drive the economy. You're talking of transportation, you're talking of power and distribution, you're talking of retail in terms of goods and services. OVH plays along that space. When we looked at OVH initially, prior to the investment, there were two big things that stood out for us. One was it had a large retail footprint, had 85,000 tons of storage capacity at Apapa, which is the seaport entry into Nigeria, and had a significant amount of debt. It was also significantly operationally inefficient. So we found a business that had size and scale on one hand, but inefficiency and working capital and problems on the other hand. So it tied into what we thought we could bring to the table. We sat down with management and said, we're looking at process redesign, we're looking at process efficiency. This is where we've got certain skill sets. We think this supports and helps you. And management agreed with us and bought into it.
The working relationship with Helios is excellent. And Helios supports us with the Lean Six Sigma projects, and by bringing an expert in that trained people and was there to guide them through the projects. But it also helped us to set up our project management office. So in some of the individual products where we need specific knowledge, they will give us an expert to help us. If we've got an issue with a bank, they will support us where they can because they've got excellent bank contacts. Recruitment, we needed an HR manager that was slightly different than the ones we had in the past, and they knew exactly where to potentially find some candidates for us in the local market. If there's a question about government, they will say, okay, we might be able to help you or give you some guidance.
Based on what we found, our key focus areas from a pure value creation plan were: one, get operational efficiency back up and optimize the business; two, deal with working capital, in particular, bring our skill and strength in terms of finding financing solutions to bear. We're now in the last phase of our value creation plan, where we're looking at efficiency in terms of movement of goods and services within the business.
Lean Six Sigma has been, for the last, I would say, 30 years, at the forefront of introducing and implementing operational excellence across the entire world. If I look at Ilios and the markets we operate, probably these markets are the ones that have been a little bit starved of Lean Six Sigma, so the fresh new thing for Africa, put it this way. And in my experience, which is almost 20 years, the first 3 to 5 years when you implement it is actually when you can get more return on your investment. We will start seeing the benefit from year one. You can literally see the positive trend quarter by quarter.
The biggest challenge of the downstream oil business in Nigeria is the extremely low margins. So you need to make sure that your cost to serve are appropriate in a very low margin environment. For us, it's extremely important to get the trucks quickly in and out, because the longer it takes them to load, the more trucks I need. And the quicker you can load, over time, I'll need less of a fleet. It has all kinds of cost benefits.
Before the LSS, in an 8-hour working day, could truck out 50 trucks. After the implementation of LSS, we now do 70 trucks. What this means is that the 70 trucks, the staff would have had to wait overtime, and the company would have had to pay out overtime to staff. But with the 70 trucks, it is now loaded within working hours, eliminating overtime, cost reduction for the company, and my staff have less fatigue. So they're working safer because there's more work-life balance. They can go home, back to their families, and come back for the next day fresh.
Through the data analysis, we realize how many tankers technically we can fill every hour. We then dropped the time from 5 to 2 hours. We were able to fill 2 tankers more an hour. So if you consider an operation of 10 hours is 20 tankers, 30% more, right? Thanks to the higher number of tankers, we could provide a turnaround service in 24 hours, not 48. So our customers are happier, reducing the stock out in the petrol station, lowering the fixed cost of the terminal, and also an element of safety, because in the terminal at any given moment before there were as a minimum 25 tankers, if not more. Now it is no more than 11. So then we maximize the throughput of the filling station. So there was no waiting in the filling station because I'm missing a piece of paper.
From the olden bay, we now conduct effective safety load on them, in the process of checking that these trucks are fit for loading. All these pre-loading checks are done in the olden bay. Any truck moving over to the loading bay is certified to load and ready to load.
We operate a jetty in Lagos, which can take the biggest product vessels in the Lagos area. And we are on a drive to both upgrade it to its design capacity, and we need to refinance it. And for that, we needed a plan. So the project management office that we have set up together with the support of Helios actually was looking how we can make sure we do that within the time, within budget. The finance team then helped us to finance that investment, but also to refinance the jetty. We had dollar loans against it, but actually our income is in Naira. So it was very important to refinance it in Naira instead of in dollars. So we've just finished a large part of our upgrade, and we've done the refinancing, and it all comes together at the same time.
When we started this project, nobody in the terminal believed that you could actually process a tanker in 2 hours. And when they actually realized that they did it, it was a big haha moment kind of realization. So, actually we can be much better than what we think. And that, in my experience, is actually what then will kickstart from the portfolio company willingness to always challenge itself to be better.
If you want to make change sustainable, you need to change the culture. Operational focus, operational efficiency, driving projects that actually change the way we work is one of the cultural change contributors. So actually Lean Six Sigma fits exactly in one of our core values called teamwork.
Leadership plays quite an important role. In the case of OVH, the leadership team embraced these, and they really appreciated Ilios. In some case, you need an external agent to make the message land in a better and heavier way So I think that we really played very well together. We definitely reached the tipping point. Now that's how we work. We need to change, we need to renew, we need always to think how we can be better. So you stop speaking about improvement only in operation and you start speaking about improvement in sales, in procurement, in finance, in HR. They are really now owning this program.
There's a lot of pressure on the world today for cleaner, more fuel-efficient processes to be done, whether it's safety standards, whether it's quality standards, whether it's assurance standards. The more we meet those standards, the better the value proposition this business has for a potential buyer. It's the biggest driver we have for making sure that today we meet the standards that the world wants, but also that tomorrow we've created sufficient value in this business to help us get as best an exit as we can. Ultimately, in the end, we feel very comfortable and confident that we have transformed OVH from what we met at the start, which was an inefficient, poor working capital finance business, to one that is operationally excellent and whose working capital financing is much more under control.
When we first looked at GB Foods Africa, we clearly identified a number of opportunities. First and foremost was innovation, where we identified an opportunity to repackage products which were more apt to what the consumer was looking at. The second was the ability to cross-sell the products that we already had in our portfolio. Helios has a deep understanding of the underlying markets we operate in. We leverage our knowledge across Africa to drive innovation, which is aligned with what customers want. We operate across multiple industries, multiple route-to-market channels, multiple consumer B2B, B2C businesses. So we clearly see trends evolving. We clearly see patterns of affordability. We clearly see patterns of access to capital. We see lots of different trends, which we then try to triangulate in order to figure out what exactly is the customer looking for across different product ranges. Here we are in the kitchen of one of the jollof restaurants known as Ghana High. Here you see products such as Gino and Gino Max cubes and paste being used. This is an example of where we catered towards large-scale industrial use. Having insight into the needs of the consumer are critical.
Helios has been also very close to us. From the very beginning, they were clear that they wanted to invest in this process of localizing and making a much bigger company in Africa. They have helped a lot in developing our local influence, in understanding the culture of the countries where we are, but especially in Nigeria. You need to make sure that a lot of stakeholders are aligned, government, communities, many people that we need to manage, and Helios' expertise has helped a lot in this process.
The primary pillars of our value creation plan were people, getting in place the right capability and the right skill set, and we now do have management in place. Second was around both back-end processes and technology upgrade, and we have now launched SAP, and we have automated various of both the customer-facing and the back-end processes. The third one was around manufacturing. Why is it that we needed to have the best-in-class automation in producing the kind of quantities we are? It is simply so that we can scale up, we can be efficient in our route to market, and we do not have stockouts. With the growing demand of the underlying products, we have a couple of key milestones for this business. One is to expand our bouillon reach within Nigeria. Second is to localize our fully integrated value chain for tomato paste production. Third is across our key and core markets, such as Algeria, Nigeria, and Ghana, to further drive capillarity by revising our route to market and getting closer to distributors and point of sale.
Tomatoes are quite complicated. It's probably easier to build a BMW factory in the middle of the desert in northern Nigeria than to build a commercial tomato farm, because tomatoes require specific knowledge. You cannot treat tomatoes like maize, cassava, or millet. The pilot has allowed us to understand the key fundamentals: yields, manufacturing processes, pests, pesticides, fertilizers, soils. We achieved approximately 10 times the average yield of the current farmers in Nigeria. The average tomato farmers achieve anywhere around 4 tons per hectare, and we were able to achieve 40 metric tons per hectare. What we see from this pilot is that we have a potential to produce paste cheaper than it's imported, essentially making us competitive even if people were importing, so that we're going to have a very strong, sustainable, competitive value chain in the tomato industry. Our vision is that ultimately we want to be able to replicate what we've done on a few hectares in about 5,000 hectares of our own land in the coming few years. First, farming ourselves, then teaching our growers to farm for us, and then converting it into sauces, pastes, and all that. And this helps us to have better margins, guaranteed supply, and to stay fresh, which is, one of the very important attributes of food. This means that we'll multiply by at least 10 times the output of this current 5,000 farmers. This is huge in terms of income levels in this area, in terms of increasing the capacity to consume, in terms of transforming that part of the world. The Tomato Project gives us an opportunity to create jobs whilst improving margins, whilst improving our supply chain. So all round good.
We used to be a more import-export business, so bringing products to this region and trying to develop the markets. Now that we are moving into a more local company, that we produce locally, the end of our strat plan probably is going to be 70% of our business is going to be locally produced. We are trying to use the best technology every time that we are developing our facilities. So to be excellent in terms of cost and to use these efficiencies for other areas of the business.
We have expertise in taste enhancers. We have a strong culinary brand. We had a strong value proposition. The market was big. The margins were also attractive. We needed to offer a value proposition that distinguished us from the rest of the market. And this is what we basically thought about: a bigger cube. A bigger cube means if a mom sometimes needs to use 3 cubes, she can use 2 cubes instead of 3. And also from a portfolio perspective, having a variant that contains spices would also enable us to tap into the natural taste profile of the people here.
Here in GB Foods manufacturing plant in Songo, we cube and package seasoning cubes. Currently, we are packing 2 variants. So we have the Gino Max chicken and the Gino Max chicken plus spice. In the cubing floor, we have the i20 machines, the newest of all the machines, developed jointly by GB Foods and Imacoraza, produces at 2,000 cubes per minute. These machines are designed and tailored towards achieving the 5-gram innovation position of GB Foods. Regular machines is 4 gram.
If you have a line producing 2,000 cubes per minute, and the regular lines produce 750 cubes per minute, you've almost installed 3 lines within the same facility, with the same number of people consuming the same amount of power. This enables you to have much better operational efficiency and ultimately better margins, which translates into the ability to invest more in marketing, the ability to scale more. So it's building a virtuous cycle, and we're planning for it to continue this way.
By investing in high-speed production lines, it will help us to reinvest in our sales capabilities and to improve our road-to-market process. We want to double the size of our business. We want to create a culinary leadership company in Africa. We want to be one of these key players in our markets and in our categories. And this will come through these 2-3 things that are really relevant for us. One is developing and keep pushing our base business through road-to-market, innovation, new products. On top of this, we are developing new innovation. This also will help us to grow and to reach our vision by developing new categories.
As we look into the future, we've owned GB Foods Africa for just under 2 years. And in the last 2 years, we have managed to integrate the businesses and leverage a combined platform. We have automated all our back-end processes through the rollout of SAP. We have successfully launched Bouillon Cubes in Nigeria. And we have successfully set up a 30-hectare farm where we had our first harvest in April 2019, which means we will be able to have a fully integrated production, assembly, manufacturing, and supply process for tomato paste within Nigeria. We are building businesses with sustainable competitive advantages by developing brands, quality products, and customer stickiness on efficient operating platforms. We are pioneers in our markets, creating high-growth, profitable, and scalable platforms, leaving a legacy of excellence.